So anyway, so
I think we touched on like the culture of our people who tend to dance around serious issues and crack jokes about it as maybe a coping mechanism of sorts.
yeah, but that's a global reality. People find ways to cope. I just think that sometimes human behavior can sort of snowball into a culture in specific places. You know, where what people do individually can easily snowball into a culture, and I think you see that more now because of the way the world is shaped and structured with social media, all sorts of platforms, and with this newfound title of influencer, where the world is made up of a massive number of followers and very few leaders. You know, and has that always been there? Yes, more people will follow than lead, but I think that the platforms have now been created to encourage even more followers, and fewer leaders are encouraged to come through the systems of society.
Yes.
You know, now you can hide behind the phone and say something. You can hide behind your phone and type something. You can have an opinion without taking a stand nowadays.
Yes.
You know, and that in itself is an issue. So while we want to talk about, you know, the culture of people just dancing around serious issue, let's talk about culture in itself. The fact that cultures are not original.
Okay.
A lot of cultures created. You know,
Yes.
tradition is original. If you got a tradition, it's original. Culture is created. The Western culture has influenced African culture hugely. What we call culture now isn't always now culture, is it? There are things that don't change. Oftentimes, tradition is one of those things that sort of remains because it's been there for years and years and years. But culture is subject to change, and culture boils down to how people behave in society, and particularly how people who are seen in front are behaving.
Yes.
For example, corruption can become a culture of a society if its leaders are
It's like a hair or something on your nose. Yeah, cool.
if its leaders are corrupt. For example, laziness can be a culture.
The thing, why is it?
It loves me.
Okay, now it's gone.
You know, so laziness can be a culture of a society. If
Oh,
the leaders,
yes.
if the face of people, you see, everybody can show their face. We see the people through the face of the leaders.
Okay.
You see society through the ones who lead. And oftentimes the ones who lead are not great examples, but they're there.
Yes.
And I think that the social media platform nowadays, while it has amazing tons of positive advantages, it has also created cultures. And when I say created cultures, these are very subtle cultures that have crept into society. For example, everybody's got a voice on social media platforms, but when it's time to stand for something, where are they? Where's the multitude that chanted for someone? A guy would think he's got so much of a support, but when the time comes for people to take a stand, you're like, where is everybody? And I think that
It's almost like a cult, but not a cult following.
yeah, because you know it gives me expression, but I don't have enough conviction to stand behind my expression.
Yes.
So I can express what I believe or what I think I agree with, but I don't have the conviction to stand with what I believe. You know, and I think that coming back to the issue of society not taking, particularly the society we are in, and I'm sure that's probably a massive global problem. But
Which is why the TikTok creator is now the richest billionaire in China. Because TikTok saw it.
oh yeah, no,
That's why
I
TikTok
think
gives us the dance videos and the
they have
comedy.
They have one capitalized on it, but I think secondly also they have been part of the system that has facilitated it.
Of course.
So it's a culture creator. You know, nowadays for people to make make a fool of themselves in front of their phones, all of a sudden has become a entertainment, and it has also become a source of income. You know, how people can do mindless stuff just in order to make an income or have a following or have people talking about them. For example, a lot of people, or not a lot of, there are people who create content just to get themselves to trend.
Yes.
Not because that content has value.
Or he's got influence, which is what he's called. Even if he jumps off the what's the tallest building in town, CBD, even if he jumps off there, it's entertainment to people.
Yeah, I think the word influencer is used very loosely in society. And I think it's a scary thing when something that some influence takes time to build. What it means to be a person of influence is that there is so much weight to you.
Yeah.
And there is a weight not just to you, but your life represents something that adds value or means something to society.
Yeah.
But we don't have that now. What people call influencers now are just popular people.
Yeah.
If you've got enough people following you, you're considered an influencer. If you've got if you've got 1 million people on Instagram following you, I mean, then you're seen as an influencer. And then you ask, what are you influencing?
Yes.
with no disrespect, influencing mindless people?
Yeah, bro.
Because if there were 5 opinionated people in that group, you might not have an influence anymore now, would you?
Yes.
You know, a lot of the things that we put out there that are not checked by the eye of the future. Would this thing still be relevant 5 years from now?
Yes.
Would it still make meaning and sense in a couple of years? No. We look for a moment.
Yes.
And it's not that because that it's different now. It's always been there. It's just that platforms have now made them easier to embrace.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so talking about the culture of not taking serious things serious, just dancing around it or laughing about it, I think there's a lot of things to look at. And I think that for me, one of them is the inherent nature of man. Human beings are, by nature, we have an instinct called survival. You know, there's many instincts in people, but one of the most popular instincts, you know, is the survival instinct. There are different kinds of instincts in people, you know, and some are more popular than others. Some people have, instinct for success. You know, some people have instinct for significance. And maybe I just say that now. There are three levels in which you can live life. You can call them gears if you want to. You can be a survivor, you can be a success, or you can be significant. And there's instinct in all of us. You know, but many people have the survival instinct, fewer people have a success instinct.
Oh, yes.
And even more, fewer people have the significance instinct. What I mean by that is that there are people born who you just know within yourself that you're meant to do something bigger than yourself. And a good example is Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was a nun, yes, but she was a school teacher in India. And at the time, there was poverty beyond imagination in India. Bodies would die. Apparently, in those days, bodies would die and be on the street while she walks to school. You have to climb over homeless people. It was bad. It was terrible. And she saw that every day. And one day she got to the school and told the school principal she was resigning. He said, what? He said, I'm resigning. He said, I need to do something about that. He's like, you are just one person. Do you know how many million people live in this town alone? She's like, I'm going to start with the first one.
Those are the people we can refer to as influencers.
Yes. Those are the ones that today might not even have as many followers on Instagram as some of these ones who call themselves influencers out there. And I'm not, one is not trying to diss people, but society really needs to measure and quantify what we value. Because I think sometimes we don't measure and quantify the things that we value. We place value loosely on things. You know, somebody can bring a piece of metal just because it's yellow, they call it gold, and then they put a value over it. And no one is checking the, how authentic is that of that product. You know, so nowadays people just place value on anything.
Yeah.
And that is the scary part. That's why don't be carried away when people celebrate you. It's the desperate ones who are really. I don't think genuine people don't put stuff out there so that they can get 1 billion people or 500 people loving what they put out. They put it out and they say, you know what, if it adds value to you, take it. If it doesn't, but the idea of value in society is something. When I'm in society, I'm not talking about this nation alone, but all over the world, that we place value very cheaply on things, on people. Oh, you're such an amazing. I mean, I'll give you a good example. There is this word or phrase, or what's acronym in sport that has been making round for decades. GOAT, greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And there is a constant battle as to who's the greatest of all time in boxing, who's the greatest of all time in football, who's the greatest of all time in this and greatest of all time in that. And sometimes in an attempt for the guys who are the pushers of greatest of all time, who oftentimes are not in themselves athletes. The guys who push this ranking of greatest of all time and they want to have a greatest of all time are just fans of the sport. Yeah. Every one of these men, amazing in their contribution to the sport.
Yes.
But it is unfair. I mean, it's a criminal offense to try to make one person greatest of all time when everybody has fought their way to be relevant and to contribute.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes we measure greatest of all time by what the person has achieved rather than what they contribute to the sport. And I think that if we want to measure true greatest of all time, let's measure them by contribution. Not just solely by how many awards they won. Oh, this guy has won Ballon d'Or 75 times. So what? And this guy's won the UEFA. I mean, these are all. I even find it more interesting when a person is greatest of all time in a team. Like in football. A player is made. He wins a Ballon d'Or, and I asked, did he get the ball from the goalpost and ran all the way there by himself?
Yeah.
Because there was a defender, there was a goalkeeper, there were midfielders, there were all sorts of people
who
contributed to. But then they said, no, the guy who scored the goal is the one we are. Because society has a very lopsided way of measuring value. And that's why every smart person, every wise person will do yourself a favor never to allow society to determine your value.
Yes.
Even when you have become the name on the lips of many.
It's like we seek that validation.
You see, the reason why people seek validation is because they can't find one in themselves.
Yes. The
reason why you seek validation from others is because you can't find one in yourself. The reason why someone seeks value from another is because he can't find one within himself.
Yes.
So it's like, if you say I'm great, then I will suddenly believe I'm great. If you tell me I'm amazing, then I'll suddenly believe I'm amazing. Because I can't find amazing within me.
Yes.
But if you can project one on me, I'll believe that it's within me.
Definitely.
And that is a society, how we loosely just place value on things. Oh, this thing is worth this. The worth of a thing is the significance of that thing. Going back to what I talked about, survival, success, significance. You are not valuable just because you're successful. Your value starts to really measure when your significance kicks in. And that's not about, some people think you need to be successful to be significant. Not really. It is possible to pursue significance from day one. And that's what Mother Teresa did. By the way, some of the richest guys don't contribute that much to the world. They make a lot of money from it, but don't necessarily contribute that measure of value back into it.
Yeah, because the first thing that they do is teach us how to avoid tax. That's
They also, because people spend more time saying, teach me how to be a billionaire like you. And there is more books written on how to be rich, how to retire at 35, and how to become a billionaire at 30, and how to be whatever. And there's a constant drive for all of these things that are not wrong in themselves, but are incomplete. And only the possessor of it knows it's not complete. The one who doesn't have it, it looks complete. Can I give you a good example of that? If you look at the moon at any given time, you'll see different time. You see different moon. You see a moon that's what they call a crescent or a crest or something, or crest or something. It's like a little piece of the moon, the beginning of
nail.
It. Yeah, it looks like a nail. Yeah, that one. Yeah, like that. And then later it becomes like a half a circle, and then something is like 3/4, and then one day it's a full moon.
Yeah.
Is it not strange how we call it a what? If it's a half moon, we say it's a half moon. Is it a half moon? You only say half of it. It's still a full moon.
Oh yeah, yes.
Just because it's not shining in its full strength does not mean that it's half now, is it? The moon knows that, but we don't. And you know why we measure the moon by what we see? We value it based on what we see. It's half a moon or it's a quarter of a moon because of the portion of it that gets the sun. By the portion of it that gets the sun. So we value ourselves based on how bright a piece of our lives is shining. So we're going somewhere with that. So someone is financially successful and they measure them, and so everybody values him based on his financial success. But we haven't seen the 3/4 part of his side that's not shining anywhere.
Which I'm sure he was the one who was celebrating those failures, ups and downs.
If he's a smart person, he will celebrate and value himself in a holistic sense. But a lot of people fall prey of how people measure them and value them. You are the greatest we've ever seen. They are measuring you based on that piece of you they can see, without the other side that they can't see. And I know that this might not be tying into what we started talking about, but it's also relevant. The need to, I once talked about every star has a side of it that shines and the other side the light never hits. You see your star is beautiful and brilliant in this place, but there's a part of your star that the sun never shines on. The world knows how to celebrate this one, but you got to know how to recognize the one on the other side. But that's just on that side.
And that's another topic for another podcast, actually, because you did once mention that about the star.
Because the importance of living a balanced life.
Yes.
You are responsible for balance.
A balanced life.
Not society. People don't measure your balance. You determine your balance. And if you don't determine your balance, they will create an imbalance in your life, because what they do is that they highlight one side of your life and abandon the other side of your life, hence creating imbalance if you follow the celebration. But if you're wise, when they sing your praise on one side, you recognize all the other aspects of your life that might not be valuable to them. By the way, sometimes value is based on people. So let's put it this way. If you're not hungry and we bring a burger here, you don't value that burger as much as a guy who's famished, who hasn't eaten in 3 days. So does the value of the burger increase or decrease? No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
But it will be relative to the person.
To the consumer.
So when people look at you and say something of you, be careful to understand that is based on them. That's not really your value.
True.
That is their value, their worth, their way of measuring your worth. So when people celebrate you, let's take a very interesting example. If you're an old school kind of person and your kind of music is slow jazz and stuff like that, and some people, the hip hop artist shows up now and everybody is singing a song, you would not buy his CD. In fact, you will not get one for free. They were distributing them in the open market. If you walk by and you're into 70s music, and they're distributing some hip-hop artist CDs on the street, and they give you one, you wouldn't take it. You're like, keep it. It's free. You still wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
And there are youngsters that will pay 120 rand to buy one of those.
Of course.
Value. Does that reduce or increase the value of a thing? No. And that's what's relevant. When we value product, it's always based on the person. Value is relative. But there's a value that's constant. It's the value that you put on yourself. Now that's a constant value. And that value isn't about how successful you are. That value is not about how big you are, or how small you are, how bright you shine, or how much you don't shine. It's not that. It boils down to the individual. And I think it's important that when you have value, you will understand the importance of significant contribution to society. And I think what we don't have a lot of in our societies are people who contribute significant impact to society. Because everybody's trying to be successful and there are fewer people trying to be significant. So Mother Teresa resigns from work, takes and tells her school principal, just give me my salary, my pay for this month, give it to me. He said, don't do that. This is a bad idea. But she did. She took that bad idea, took her salary, and went and bought food. And that began the legacy that we know today. it is interesting to know that such a big life started from such a small decision. Because someone realized my life is not just about going somewhere to make a living, going somewhere to build an empire for myself. There's nothing wrong with any of those things, but it is important to know they don't bring balance in themselves. They give you a sense of gratification. They give you a sense of accomplishment. But someone who thinks, when I'm successful, then I will then attempt to be significant. And we've seen a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
They become very rich or successful. And then now they're finding institutions and organizations to partner with now. Because there is a vacuum that success can create in a person. People think that success fills a vacuum. Oh yes, it does. But then in feeling one, it creates another. You know that? Let me give you a good example. When a person is in high school, he can't wait to get to matric. Oh, one day when I finish matric, then he does. And finishing matric creates the vacuum for a university.
Yes.
And then he goes to varsity. And it's like, I cannot wait to get out of varsity to start working. Oh, you see, a vacuum has been created again.
Okay.
And then he graduates, and then working becomes the next vacuum. Then he becomes a job seeker. He starts looking for a job. And when he gets a job, for some people, the next vacuum is buying stuff, cars and houses and whatever. Other people, it's leaving that job to go and start a business they've always believed in. That's another vacuum created. Life entices us with success, but then leaves us with a vacuum. So the guy who's not successful does not see a vacuum. The only vacuum he sees is that there's no success in my life. I've got everything else, but I'm not successful. I'm not happy. If I have that, I'll be happy. And then when he gets that, he realizes, I think I want more. And while it's okay in life to want to better yourself, you need to at some point start thinking about to better others.
Yes.
True value of a man is not what he thinks he is. It's what the people you have added value to think you are or know that you are. So this is the way to look at that.
Interesting.
The first man that Mother Teresa bought that food for, what did he think of her? So before we started celebrating her, he saw a lifesaver right there. Correct? I've once said something to you before. I think when we were talking in the office, it was just something that crossed my mind about a year ago. I drove into the parking of the mall one day, and I thought about it. Just crossed my mind. How many people are genuinely happy to see you because of what you mean to them?
Yeah, you did.
How many people? A man once said something. He said a man is not a millionaire because he has $1 million in his account, but because he has affected 1 million lives positively. And I know that for some people, like, look, I can't be in poverty and be thinking about that. I need to make my life count. The truth is, the only real way to make life count is to make other people's life matter. If their lives matter to you, your life will count. You know what I realized? The journey of life is like a sea, like an ocean, like a river or something. And what makes someone's life count is where you land each time. And those landings are people. If you land on people, value. Many fly high in life, and when they land, there's nobody to land them. Into the water they go, and once upon a time, they go and get lost in history. Once relevant, but once their life was over, it was indeed over. And some people are dead, and yet they live on.
Yes.
Because of the value that they've added to others. So we'll leave at that heavy stuff. Let's talk about our societal funny stuff. People laughing over what do you call it?
Their problems.
Their problems. I think that
their heartbreak, their struggles with
it's all true to the fact of coping. But to understand where all of this comes from is to look at the human instinct and say, what are we programmed by default to do? When I don't like something, I leave it. So, a good example. If you touch something that's hot, what do? You withdraw your hands. That is instinct. It's a fight or flight. And one of the reasons why society, particularly our society here, seems to avoid very contentious matters. We like to comment on very trivial. We call it we're entertaining ourselves.
Actually, yeah.
We like to
Very
focus on
trivial,
very trivial things. You know, I mean, so bad is that our craving for trivial things that people now create trivial things to make people comment on.
Yes.
So it doesn't exist, then they create it. And then you have people raving over it. Then you ask yourself, I wonder if I put it like an important conversation on, if I'm going to get the same reaction. No. Because people seek more to be entertained. And in an attempt to be entertained, it was like, it's too serious for entertainment, let's avoid it. Let's go to something that's more fun, more interesting, more intriguing. And I think that there are too many people in society, and if you look at relationships, many relationships fail because two people cannot talk about serious things.
Yes.
It's too hectic now, isn't it? Because if you mention it, it changes the atmosphere in the room.
Yeah.
It makes the, they will tell you something like, you could cut the tension with a knife.
Yes.
So I'm trying to de-stress the environment. I'm not trying to make it tense. But sometimes the only way to get proper value out of life is to go for tension. A good example is a guitar. A guitar's got 6 strings.
Okay.
Those strings, I used to play guitar once when I was not very good. I bought one and I started, and I can play a few songs here and there, but I haven't played the guitar in God knows how long. It's been a while. And I learned that with a guitar, you have to tune it. And tuning a guitar means you what do you call it? You pull the strings. And you make them harder and harder, because if you don't make them hard, you will not get the sound you need to get out of it.
Is it almost that that
little knot on top? Then you twist those things, and it fastens each of those strings in such a way that when the guitar is tuned, if you play, you get something out of it. Life's the same. Our relationships particularly are those. We hate tension in relationships, but we don't realize tension is what makes our relationships sound.
Yes.
Our relationships will not sound or will not be sound without tension.
Wow, okay.
Our children will not go far without tension. A good example is a bow and an arrow. Parents must know. Parents are both. Either you're a single mother or a father, and a mother or a father alone raising a child. You got to understand. You are a bow. Your child is an arrow. You see that string there? That's all discipline, and that's all love. And when you pull on that, that's called tension. The more tension you can put in that bow and that arrow, the further and higher that arrow can fly.
I've never thought of the word tension in that almost like positive aspect, because you think tension.
Because everybody avoids tension. Because
listen what she said, like was it with muscle?
Yes.
Muscle building as well?
You put tension on it.
That's how you
and
build
it grows. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you know why we don't like tension? Uncomfortable. Discomfort is the reason why we don't like tension.
Yeah.
Even tension in relationship. It's because it makes the moment awkward. If there's tension in the relationship, like, ooh, and can I tell you something? The people who survive years in their relationship are those who know how to live through those tensions.
Yeah, boy.
And those who don't are the ones who know how to escape.
Now. They give up now.
They escape. The moment the conversation gets heated, I'm out.
Oh.
You find a lot of guys, they can't take the heat. And there's a very popular saying.
Get out the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very popular saying that was, I think, coined by people who know how to dodge and avoid. Oh yeah. So they said, if you can't handle a heat, no. If you can't handle a heat, stay until you can handle it. Oh, absolutely. Let's put it this way. So you go to school and school's hard. Do you drop out? You start a business and it's not working the way you thought it was going to work. Do you then stop the business?
No.
So if you can't handle the heat, change your way of thinking. Because that heat's good for you. So this is the danger of not being able to handle the heat. If you're a baby chicken in an egg. If you can't handle the heat, you will never be a chicken.
Of course, you'll be eaten.
You will be an egg. You're not even good for eating. That's the problem. Because the egg that you eat cannot be incubated. Once you start incubating an egg, you cannot eat it. It's not fit for food.
Oh.
So many people become neither here nor there.
Okay.
They are not fresh enough to be fried or boiled, but they are also not incubated enough for them to become a chicken.
Okay.
That can one day grow up and have eggs.
Egg production and broiler, or what is it?
Yes.
Broiler is the one where chickens come out of the egg.
No. So a broiler is what you eat in KFC, for example. So they are raised for meat only, for meat purposes only. Then you have layers. They are the ones who lay the eggs that you eat.
Yes.
And those eggs actually can never become chicken, by the way. They are infertile eggs.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, that's very interesting stuff. So they're infertile eggs. They can never, in a million years, they can rot, but they can never become a baby chicken, ever.
Sure.
So a good example of that, okay, I know I'm going to farming stuff for you guys now, but I've got cucumbers in my garden.
Mm.
And one of the things, when we planted the cucumbers, I was clueless. We just went to the veggie, whatever we bought. So we came here, we planted, and then I would watch videos. And then I realized when the cucumbers started having flowers, I noticed, okay, I'm like, oh, wonderful, flowers are everywhere.
Mm.
I was like, so I would look at the flower and go, I don't see anything. Okay, so I'm okay, maybe the flower will fall off and then the cucumber will pop out. Until one day I saw another kind of flower that seemed to have a cucumber behind it, then the flower on top of it.
Okay.
So my daughter, who is Google champion, decides to go on Google, check out what was going on. And we found out that cucumbers have got male and female flower. So the female flower has got a cucumber at the back of it. That's what becomes a cucumber. Now there are 10 male flowers on the average, 10 male flowers to a female flower. So for every 11 cucumber flowers you see, only one is a cucumber, the rest are just flowers.
Interesting. But
the male will fall off eventually and die. And they come 10 days before the female one comes out. This is the story. If the female doesn't get cross-pollinated by the male, even that one dries out too. And that cucumber at the back of it just turns brown and falls off. So, what's all of that story to do with anything? It's the value of understanding process. If people know in their relationship that tension, this is you getting to know each other. You know, when I hear people say things like, oh, we've grown apart. No, you didn't grow apart. When you started to evolve, you guys didn't take time to know each other.
Yeah.
You came into it thinking you already knew the person. And one of the deadliest decisions you can ever make in a relationship is to come into it thinking you know that person.
True.
The reason why many relationships don't work is because people come with a preconceived idea of what they think you are. Welcome. You will marry a caterpillar. Wait until she becomes a butterfly. Then you go, oh, you're too ambitious. Now, when I married you, you were very, you were a homemaker. You were a ha. Yeah, you married the caterpillar at the time.
Yes.
Sometimes you marry a pupa. You know what a pupa is? Pupa is that one between the caterpillar and the butterfly, the one that's stationary.
The moth.
Not a moth. Moth is a butterfly that flies at night.
Oh, okay.
So a pupa, what we call a pupa, I don't know what you guys call it here. It's when the caterpillar is about to become a butterfly. It goes into one place and attaches itself to a branch. Like a comb, like a cocoon or something. And wraps itself in that thing. And when it emerges as a beautiful butterfly with wings. And many men or women would marry a man in that state or a woman in that state. And when they start breaking out, you were not prepared for that.
Yeah, true.
You were not prepared for that. So it's always very important when you get into a relationship to understand the dynamics of the person. The person will evolve. So would you. But it's important that you guys are willing to grow together.
Yes.
The idea of compatibility is one of the reasons why people don't understand commitment in a relationship. That we are not compatible. Excuse me? If compatibility is what it takes for a relationship to work, then where's the role of commitment? Commitment is there because they know that you will not be compatible, but you got to find a way to work together. And many don't know that. So, we like the same things. Oh, that's not going to keep your relationship for long time. We like the same things. I remember when I first got married, I suck at tennis, but I enjoyed going there just to whack at tennis balls. Okay. And I would desperately wanted to take my wife with me. And my wife is just an outdoor person. She's she's just okay on the couch over the weekend.
Premier League.
She's happy with that. And she's okay with watching sports, but playing. And I used to be like, yeah, we need to. But later I had to realize we don't have to like the same thing. But we'll find common ground eventually. But some people want to impose their hobby on someone else.
Yes, it's a problem.
And that is a problem. I like hiking. Who says he or she's going to like hiking? If you want to go burn in the sun for 3 hours climbing Table Mountain, I would take the cable up there and find you on top.
Yes.
Like some people say, why climb the mountain when you can just ride up the mountain? Yeah. You know, like what's the use of riding a horse when there's a car? But we're different in that way. Yeah. And I think that the issue around society, not, we tiptoe around serious matters. The reason why we tiptoe around serious matters also, not just one, but just one of the many reasons why people tiptoe, is the culture that has been created. And I'm going to use examples. Examples of families where serious things never get talked about.
Okay.
Either you know it or not. If you grew up in an environment like that, you would not know what confrontation feels like or how to confront.
Yes.
So either when you are confronted or when you are required to confront, you will not know how to do it. Either of the two, and that's what happens. If you were raised in a house where we just didn't talk about certain things, and I think it's okay for some things to be taboo in a home, but it is danger when important things are taboo.
Yes.
It's okay. Every family must have a rule. Every house, look, if a house has no rule, that's not good. Because you don't raise champions in a house without rules. Champions are raised in a space of structure. So it's fine to say, this we don't do, this we don't say, but it is dangerous to take serious life matters. To take serious life matters and say, we don't talk about that. And you know why in some homes, some things become taboo that should be talked about? Because he, the father, or her, the mother, was raised in a home where those things were never talked about.
Yeah.
So they are not comfortable with the conversation, and because they're not comfortable with it, they've made it a law that it shall not be talked about in their homes. And there is relevance and value in what gets talked about, because or else, without being able to talk about serious things as a family, as a couple, guess what happens? We start dancing around and we get comfortable with speaking about sport, we talk about the weather, we talk about friends, we talk about our community, but we never talk about ourselves. And you can even see sometimes how that sort of takes shape early in a relationship. A couple are dating and they meet each other and they will talk about everything else except each other, in the sense of each other. Not how was your day. No. That's talking about work.
Like, where are we going, baby? In the next 5 years.
Can I say something to you? When my wife and I started dating, it was later she said that, and she only said that after we got married. I would go, we need to talk, and she just roll her eyes and go, this guy is too serious. He's always, I'm like, it's just serious. It's not a show. It's serious. And I always believe that when you dating someone and you're talking marriage here, there are 4 things that you guys have to talk about. Not that you cannot increase that list, but 4 important things. You can always add 5 and 6 and 7. One, you have to talk about your belief system. Too many people believe 2 different things.
Yes.
And then they wonder why it's not working, because you want to go south and he wants to go north. And so you create a kind of tension that's not good. The tension of pulling. I'm going that way, you going that way. And we can't find a common ground, unfortunately.
Yeah,
because I'm held on my position and you held on your position.
And the same was opposites
attract. Opposites attract when they are mature. So you have to talk about the belief system. If you believe in God, make sure the person you're with believes the same. Or else there's going to be conflict. That's what happens. Conflict of faith. Secondly, is that you guys got to talk about money.
Finances.
The problem. One of the reasons marriages and relationships don't work is because people don't talk about money. Do you know why people don't talk about money? One of the reasons is because their parents never spoke to them about money.
My dad, when we go to the go fill up when he goes to put petrol in his car, he would step outside of the car so that my mom doesn't see how much he has in his pocket. What?
You might think that
isn't that the most transparent thing in a relationship?
No, I'll tell you why. You might say, obvious, like, duh, shouldn't that be the obvious?
Yeah.
But can I tell you something? Every relationship at that level was built on a foundation. So before you judge the relationship, go to the foundation of it to understand why it's structured that way. So let me tell you something. Whatever you permit in a relationship becomes the reality of that relationship. Dysfunctional it may be.
Yeah.
So, listen. In the dating process, the woman does not, or the man, one of them does not initiate the conversation.
Yeah.
Look, before you get serious with someone, take them into deep waters very quickly.
Yes.
So we like to, we you know, when they show us a picture of a very romantic couple, they at the beach, holding hands, walking, just, you know, splattering in the shallow waters, you know, the wave of water coming. That is so comfortable. Because you can't tell if the guy can swim or not. If you want to test someone, take them to deep waters early. And I think many people don't do that because they're like, I don't want to scare him away.
Yes.
Ooh, scare him away before he helps you waste 5 years of your life.
Yes.
Scare her away before she costs you 10 years of your life. Before she takes your heart and breaks it and takes it with her.
Now reveal yourself.
Take people to deep waters. And you see, because we don't challenge ourselves, we don't get to see who we really are. And when challenges now come and reveal us to ourselves, we're like, oh, that's not who I married. Yes. Because what pressure does is that pressure only reveals you. Pressure only reveals people. Pressure does not break people. It reveals them.
Yes.
So people say, he was broken by pressure. No. What you see now is who he really is.
Yes.
What you were looking at was what he's been trying to tell everybody he is.
That's how a diamond is formed.
So put pressure and you know who someone is. But in relationship, as in many things, a guy has got a business partner. They never talk about how we're going to structure resources. And this guy just thinks he's going to wear suits, show up and have a title of CEO, or while you are CFO or COO, and with all the other fancy C's that people have in business. But there is no proper conversation as to how are we going to work together. Unless, when we talk about proper conversation, we talk about the touchy subjects. Relationship conversation, number one. Or number two, finances. You got to talk about these things.
You said the four.
Yeah, so that's number two. It's finances. Talk about it. And I don't want to tell him, I don't want to let her know how much I earn. How is that an issue? Oh, but what if she earns more than me? And I know that's a big issue with guys.
Aren't you guys together?
What if she earns more than you? A man's worth is not how much he earns.
Yes.
It's the qualities and value that you bring to the table. There are men who earn 10 times their wives, and they are not worth half what she is worth. I'll tell you a story that it makes me laugh, even though the guy who it happened with didn't like it. One of those days, I think I went to Johannesburg. I was in Joburg, and the guy called me, and he wanted to buy a house. And you know the process. I tell the guy, look, I will start our process with a pre-qualification, check what you qualify for. He laughs. Jacob Zuma kind of laughs. And you got to know how to, you need to know how to read laughs. Every laugh has a attitude behind it. So when people are scared, they still laugh. When people are intimidated, they laugh. When people are arrogant, they laugh.
When you're nervous or something.
Yeah, every laugh comes with some sort of meaning. And it goes, and then it goes, my friend, I earn 50,000 rand a month. Now, look, there are times I just let it go. You know, sometimes you let people express arrogance and you just ignore them, and sometimes you want to help them.
Yes.
So I figured that day I think I was more in a helpful mode. I was feeling like helping someone. So I was like, so once he said that, I said to him, sir, there are many that earn more than you do, and they cannot afford to buy a bicycle. He got upset.
You really dented his ego.
He got upset and he started insulting me. There was no word he didn't call me. And eventually I had to tell him, sir, I'm going to put the phone down now, okay? Bye. And I ended the call. Now, why is that? That's a man who is afraid to be vulnerable because he prefers a persona than a personality.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that prefer to have a persona than a real personality. I'm afraid that if you discover who I really am, you will not value me as much as you are valuing me now.
Yes.
So we have become masters of makeup. We make ourselves look the way we want people to perceive us. And the problem with doing that is that you will spend less time working on who you really are, but you spend more time trying to sell who you want people to believe that you are.
Yes.
So you know that statement, fake it until you make it? That's exactly where it was born. It was born in the place of you create a persona of who you are and you sell it hot to people. You create who you think how you want people to, see you, and then you sell it as the hottest maguinyan on the planet. hottest cake on the planet. And people do that a lot. So we spend a lot of time protecting a persona rather than equipping ourselves.
Yes.
We spend more time trying to protect an image than we are actually building who we are.
Yes.
So you know what we do? We abandon who we are and we keep, what do you call it now? We keep perpetrating or we keep promoting this person that we want people to think we are. For example, no, I'm not picking anything against guys. Guys who go to the gym have mass. If a guy's got six-pack, I've got respect for him. Because I have tried doing sit-ups before. That thing kills.
Yeah,
so if a guy's got six-pack, it's not just sit-ups. That's a whole lot of dietary discipline. But this is the problem. Is that you now find people who now draw identity from a six-pack. A six-pack is not an identity.
Yes.
It's just a garment. That's it's the same thing as a guy who puts on a suit. So let's put it this way. Your suit just can't come off. He can take his suit off. That's the difference. Suit don't make a man.
Yeah.
Six-packs don't make a man either. Your Mercedes, your Audi A7 or A10 does not make you because you get out of it. It's who you are outside of that vehicle.
Yeah.
That's your true worth. It's not that vehicle that's a facade. But that is the society we live in. So you find a guy, he's driving a fancy car, he goes into a relationship, and then here comes the problem why we don't have conversation in relationship, and I want people to pay attention to this. Assumption. Assumption is one of the greatest problems in many relationships. We assume based on what we see. And because those who promote persona know that persona creates assumption, and assumptions will deter you from having conversations. I assume. For example, the guy has a car, lives in a fancy estate. Oh, he's rich.
Yeah.
You have not asked. You've assumed he's rich. You've assumed he earns a lot of money. A guy runs a business, says he's traveling abroad all the time, like, oh, he's got a very successful business. Correct?
Yep.
And let me put it this way. So a guy starts dating a doctor. And she said, I'm a doctor.
Yes.
Which kind of doctor?
Yeah.
Do you know how many doctors are out there? A lady starts dating a lawyer. Oh, he's a lawyer.
Health profession.
Yes, health profession. Do you know how many health professions are out there?
My mom is in the health profession.
So it's an assumption. That person could be a nurse, to them just being a cleaner in a clinic. It's what? They all work in the same. I work in the clinic. What do you do there? You got to establish. And people don't do that because, one, we assume, but the biggest reason is because we're afraid. We are afraid to speak or to ask questions that can seem or be perceived as confrontation.
Yes.
But confrontation is the key to comfort tomorrow. If I want to have a comfortable life tomorrow, I need to be confrontational today.
Deal with it now.
So, let's talk about it now. Let's talk now. But the problem is that people don't want to do that. Because I don't want to scare him away.
Yes.
I don't want to scare her away.
Upset.
Oh, he looks like a very nice guy. You know how many pedophiles have got six-pack?
Of course.
Do you know how many dysfunctional guys who are mama's boys are cute to their shoes? They could dress to kill anything. Except they don't know how to address the issues in their life.